Oh, it's recording. Okay. Hey guys. This is episode number 2 of Meet the Truth, and today I have with me Jenny, or she's also known as Lady of the Steak. And yeah, why don't you just take the floor?
Take,
Tell us, who are you? How did you find your way to Carnivore, and what's your story? All that.
take the floor. Okay. Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm Lady of the Steak. I'm a 1.5 year carnivore. I exist with Jonathan in an online community of fellow carnivores and carnivore coaches and like-minded health and wellness people. My journey is a bit of a one we could say of trial and error. I struggled immensely with gut health the majority of my life. It started when I was pretty young, 14, 15. I went through a number of tests, as we tend to do, swallowing barium, trying to track what was happening. I was suffering from really severe stomach pain. This went on for a number of years. Nobody diagnosed anything. A few years later, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, completely unrelated, but then I was told the same old, it's genetic, everyone in your family has hypothyroidism. Yeah, take these pills, you'll be fine. Unfortunately, this was when I was 16 and I lost my dad that year. So my health wasn't really my primary focus. Obviously, tending to my mom, I'm an only child, was my primary focus for a while. And then I went off to university and I started working in bars and I started living the student slash bartender life, divulging heavily in not eating, but not in a proper fasting sense, just in a like you forget to eat and or develop body dysmorphia because the restaurant industry is so appearance focused that, you develop really unhealthy standards of what you're supposed to look like. And then, so I lived that way for quite a while. I went to university for a number of years and I worked in bars for a number of years, and just drugs and alcohol and a standard American diet. Slowly, everything else kind of started to fall into place in the bad way. And I would cycle on and off. I would have these periods of time where I felt really unhealthy. And so I would go into, it started with the Whole30. That was my first go at trying to be healthy. And so I did 30 days and I thought that was like the world's biggest accomplishment. And then I went right back into my terrible diet. I gave myself a pat on the back that I was so great for doing 30 days of clean eating, and off I went. And these cycles happened for a number of years. And then the issues started to stack. So I started developing really bad anxiety and depression. The gut health issues stayed there. The hypothyroidism stayed there. And when I left the restaurant industry, I went into politics and I took a desk job. And when I took a desk job and all of a sudden I cycled from night work to day work, my hypothyroidism in response to the stress just kind of went AWOL. I wasn't in a very good place. And I gained 45 pounds in 3 months. And that just, everything just went out the window. I started eating in a really more dysregulated way and developed hypoglycemia. That became so dysregulated, I ended up having a car accident and crashing my car. I'm okay, but coming out the other side of that. And then the final straw of that was the gut health turned into a full-blown diverticulitis and SIBO, which is small intestine bacterial overgrowth diagnosis, which did take a period of time. I had such severe pain, they actually thought I had ovarian cysts that were bursting, but through a number of tests, we found it was diverticulitis. And then I went into the eat a ton of fiber, live on these antibiotics, have a nice day. You're probably going to need surgery life for a year. The antibiotics completely killed my gut health entirely, just stripped everything. My doctor didn't know what to do with me. So as a last ditch effort in an attempt not to put me into surgery, he put me in front of a naturopath who put me on the elemental diet, which is essentially feeding tube liquid that you drink and meat for 6 weeks. And I got significantly better in a multitude of areas, but I chalked it up to the elemental diet, not to the meat. And I, again, at the end of 6 weeks went, I'm healed. And I went back into my dirty ketovore life. And that still involved a lot of veggies because, the keto life, you're still like veg focused. And in the beginning of 2024, my boyfriend decided to start a 75 hard, and I decided to join on to that. And he told me he was going carnivore, and I told him he was insane. And I didn't know anything about it. I just thought it was like disgusting, the thought of eating only meat. And I was like, there's no way that's good for you. You're going to die. But since I cook for us, I found 3 weeks in, well, guess who's carnivore? Me, because that's all I'm making is strictly carnivore food. And all of a sudden I start kind of having this awakening going, wait a minute. Like I don't hurt when I put pants, like I could put pants on. I'm not so inflamed, and like, I'm not like on the toilet all day long, and I kind of can think clearly, and oh yeah, okay, there might be. So I dug in for the 75 days. And obviously at the end of those 75 days, I was like, all right. So then I started to research, and I found Ken Berry and Dr. Shafee and Bella and, all the standard folks. And yeah, I have not looked back. I have not looked back since. And that was about a year and a half ago, the other side of my journey to carnivore.
Wow, that's quite the journey. So you've been through quite a lot of the different diets, right? And I'd just be interested to hear if, when you were going through all of them, is there something, do you know if there's something inside of you that kept you searching for an answer? Is there some sort of health issue you wanted to fix? Is there, I don't know, was there like a rock bottom moment for you where you just, whatever?
Yeah. So I have cycled through, as I said, like it was a lot of trial and error for me. And I unfortunately just didn't, I worked so much and I lived in such an unhealthy environment that I didn't have people in my life who cared about health. But I kept finding things. And so, like I said, I started with Whole30. After that, I actually went a year later into being a raw juicing vegan. And so I did that for 5-6 months, and I bought the great big juicer, and every morning I would juice all my vegetables. And that actually made me extremely ill. I was frail. My anxiety was at like that actually set me back a lot. And then I thought, oh, well, I just need some things in my diet. And so I went over to vegetarianism, which didn't really make things much better. And then I cycled back into the standard American diet again, because I thought, well, I'm just sick anyways. What am I putting all this money and effort into juicing for? I might as well just eat what I want. I don't feel good. And then I did a stint of paleo for for my first 75 hard. So I've done 75 hard 5 times. And for my first stint of that, I did paleo. The next one I did keto. And I kept kind of cycling between those two. And I have always been, like, my nickname as a child was Fireball. I've always been a push the norm person. I'm definitely not a small personality in any regard. And so I've always sort of just been like, there's got to be more, right? I'm meant for more. I'm meant to not live like this. And so every time I would cycle off, I would have this guilt and this shame. And there was a ton of like body dysmorphia, as I said, attached to that as well. So like I would blame myself, like, I'm not losing the weight everybody else is losing. I'm doing it wrong. And so then I would just go back into terrible eating patterns or drinking or drug use. But something kept drawing me back. Something in me kept saying, like, there's other people who don't live like this. Like, you don't have to feel this way. You don't have to live with this like shame and this guilt. And I'm now a pretty energetic based person. And so I believe that like, shame and guilt are very low vibration feelings. And so they bring your energetic pattern down. And so I just kept trying. Like something in me kept, once or twice a year, I would just try. And I actually did quite a number of years ago. I gave up alcohol. I just decided alcohol is my problem. I'm going to stop drinking. And I stopped drinking. And that actually did change, obviously, quite a bit for me because I was drinking quite heavily. And so now it's been quite in 3-4 years. I don't keep track of these things, but it's been a number of years that I haven't drank. And that actually helps quite a bit. But yeah, I think leaving the restaurant industry, leaving an environment, like they say, you are who your friends are, right? So leaving an environment that's super focused on like appearances and like popularity and this really awful life. Not to hate on any of my industry friends. I love my industry people, but for me, it was not conducive to a good life. And I just kept saying, like, you're worth more, right? Like, I'm highly educated. I need to be pursuing a better career. I need to be pursuing a better life. I need to be helping people. My background in education is in psychology. And I just felt this drive to like help others and help myself. And so every time I would fall down, I would get back up. And then I would fall down and I would get back up. And then finally, when I found Carnivore, it gave me the relief from the shame and the guilt. And I stopped having a bad relationship with food. I started just naturally, intuitively eating because I healed my hypoglycemia, because I balanced my hormones. My thyroid calmed down, my stress calmed down, my anxiety calmed down, my depression calmed down. Everything just calmed down enough that I didn't find it so hard to go to the gym. I didn't find it so hard to wake up on time. I didn't find it so hard to sleep properly. And so where previously those other diets hadn't quite alleviated those things enough, I think that's why I was cycling back into those bad patterns. Carnivore actually gave me the opportunity to feel enough relief that I could be the disciplined person that I know I am and have continued to be since I have been carnivore.
So what you're saying basically is you still haven't grown up because you're not eating your veggies, right?
That's right. Yes, I'm forever 5. I will forever eat that meat on the plate. Don't give me the broccoli.
That's good. You and me both. But yeah, I just wanted to go deeper into while you were like trying really hard and doing all these different diets and probably feeling like, well, I'm doing all the right things. Why is it not working for me? I just want to hear how was that making you feel? Were you feeling defeated or?
Yeah. Yeah. I battled a lot with defeat because I felt like I was trying. I felt like I was doing more than the people around me were doing. And I always was like comparative, right? I mean, I grew up Eastern European. So for me, like beauty was a standard. And it was always like, you cook and clean for your husband. You make sure you look absolutely perfect while you do it. Like my mom puts on a full face of makeup to go outside and garden. So um, there was always a lot of comparatives happening. And when I was trying, I didn't understand. I lacked the education and I lacked the self-confidence and self-love to understand that like my heart was in the right place. I was trying. I was just misinformed about what I should be doing. And so, yeah, I would feel really defeated. Like I would put so much effort in and, oh, I went to the gym, 4 times a week for a month straight and I was eating this super strict diet, but how come I still feel so bad? And then I would get really upset and I would cry and I would, and then I would feel like I was the failure and I wasn't doing it right and something was wrong with me. I was broken in some way that other people weren't. And it was terrible. It was a terrible cycle of emotions and health that were like correlating in this terrible pattern of like lack of self-love and getting better.
Yeah, that's the sad part, right? There's so many people feeling that way nowadays. And that's why I think it's so important that we have these conversations so we can get the stories out there, right? You don't actually have to live that way. There is a better path for you if you want to go down that route and actually get better.
Yeah.
So I just want to hear, like, especially for women, right? You hear a lot of these things that you need to eat low fat, like more fiber, a lot of plants to stay healthy and fit. So do you have anything you'd like to say to women maybe in their 40s or like your age? Yeah.
As a woman in her 40s, fat doesn't make you fat. You require fat for your body. Literally all of your cells require cholesterol. High cholesterol won't kill you. That's not how that works. And I think that, especially for my generation, we were really taught, like there's a lot of women in general face eating disorders and body dysmorphia, and fat and meat, because they make you feel full, are often very correlated to not wanting to eat those because you don't want to feel full or you feel like you're going to gain the weight. I work a lot with women in the eating disorder and body dysmorphia space. Also in the hormonal balancing space. I think a lot of us see thyroid issues. My generation took a lot of birth control pills and birth control pills and patches and everything else really skew your hormones, and it causes issues with your thyroid. So I think like the best thing I can say is really like do your own research, spend the time understanding how the body works. Just because you were taught something doesn't make it true. And I know that, you know, I'm not saying vegetables and fruits don't add something to your diet. They can, but what they leach out is worse, right? So like a plant doesn't want to be consumed. It can't run away or fight you. So it's biologically evolved to have toxins. That's how it doesn't get eaten. And if we look at animals across the planet, they've developed very specifically to consume the specific, if they're herbivores or omnivores, they've developed to consume the specific things that they consume. You don't see a koala eating a maple tree in Canada. Like, despite obviously they don't live in Canada, but you just don't see, like, they develop to eat what they're supposed to eat. And I believe that we've developed the same way. When women, especially, I think we deal with a lot of guilt, and we deal with a lot of shame, and we deal with a lot of defeat feelings. Weight, obviously, specifically when you get into your 40s and your 50s, becomes an issue. And when you're eating these like low fat diets, you're robbing your body of what it needs in order to be balanced to lose the weight. And I don't think, I mean, I didn't believe it either. So anybody who wants to be like, Jenny, you're wrong. Listen, I didn't believe it either. I ate the like low fat diet for years, and I did not lose the weight until I went to a 70% fat ratio. That's how I got off medication. That's how I got away from needing surgery. That's how I lost that 45 pounds. I'm 41. I have abs. I am strong. I am so capable. I look better now than I looked when I was 30. And it's because of a high fat diet. And I know that it takes time to understand, and it takes a lot of research, but I would 100% encourage anybody, specifically women of my age, who are starting to look at perimenopause, menopause, even if you're just still dealing with your hormonal cycling, you need fat to support that transition. You require it. So avoiding fat is punishing your body. You're going to have more painful periods. You're going to have dysregulated periods. You're not going to be able to get pregnant or carry a proper term pregnancy. You're going to face all kinds of issues with that. Menopause is going to be a nightmare. Like, you require fat and protein. They're the only essential thing. Like, you don't need carbs. Please, with the carbs, you don't need carbs. Like, we all know you don't need carbs, okay? Get that fat in your diet. That's what I would say is like my number one piece of advice, but please don't couple it with sugar and carbs, or that is not how fat works. But, moderate protein, high fat is the way to go. It supports women's health through and through. And if you're going to try carnivore, I would highly encourage you to do so. But even meat-based, I would say give yourself, like, don't be comparative to men. Men generally adapt in 3 to 4 weeks. Women often need 90 plus days in order to adapt fully to the diet. And it's something I deal with a lot of women who go on carnivore, and in the first 6 weeks, they're like, I didn't lose 20 pounds. This doesn't work for me. And I get it. But you have to heal before you lose the weight. And sometimes there's a lot of healing that needs to be done from years and years and years of cycling, just like I did, and or just eating a straight sad diet for your entire life. So give it time, eat the fat. It's good for you. You need it. You'll feel better. That's my advice to women of my age.
that's
women.
great.
All women.
I was just about to say, first of all, it's what you said is amazing. It's so true. But I wanted to add that it's not just, you see these issues among all age groups now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just women creeping up in like their 40s, 50s. It's teens, it's 20s, everything. It's pretty bad at the moment. And yeah, but it feels like we're actually starting to see more and more people kind of wake up to this, right? And at least start to get curious to the idea of this whole thing. Is that something you're seeing at the moment as well?
It is, yeah, and I love it. I've kind of taken it. I've always been big sister vibes. That's always been my thing. I'm a protector by nature. I love to like take other people in and hold them. You're like my little brother, Jonathan. I just love to like embrace people. I have no siblings, so I like, I'm just taking everybody in of my own volition. But I found quite a few young carnivores who I make it my mission to speak with and to support, because we all face a lot of hardship in the carnivore community. A lot of people have awful things to say to us. But I feel extra protective of the youth who are facing these things, because I can't imagine being 16 years old and being told that like I'm going to die because of what I'm eating. And people are so harsh. But it's beautiful to see people waking up and questioning. And I work in my life coaching with some folks who are about your age, 20 through 25. And they deal so much with these really heavy feelings. They have to be off social media because it's so impactful for them. And I know that's something that you faced as well. And it's this sort of, wake up of, okay, well, I've been trying all these things, and like, how come I still have such severe depression or anxiety, or like I can't socially function, or I have agoraphobia, or all of these things that just of our parents and our grandparents and our great grandparents generation just didn't exist for them. And we start to look at this, and we have to look at like what has changed in the environment. Well, we recognize screen time is obviously a problem, right? Like high hits of dopamine, fast hits of dopamine, obviously an issue. But yeah, I see so many young folks who just have dysregulated diets. They're consuming nothing but seed oil, sugar, and carbs. They're not going outside. They're not exercising. They haven't drank a glass of water in 5 years. And you have to like really break these norms, because I recognize you can't come to somebody and say, what the hell are you doing? Stop that. Like, it doesn't work for most people, right? You have to like help coach people out of the conditioning that they've had. And especially if they still live with their parents. I work with somebody who lives with her parents still, and her mother cries if she tries to not eat the pasta her mom made. Oh, you don't love me. You won't eat my pasta, so there's a lot there. There's a lot there for young folks. And I think already, you can speak to it better than me, but I think it's already really hard living in today's world. There's a lot of, we live in a filtered swipe culture where everybody has Botox and everybody has bleach hair, and everybody's got filters, and talon nails and fake eyelashes. And that's okay if that's who you are. Like, I no love lost on who you want to be, but it's very hard to quiet that noise when you're, and I can speak because it's who I was, like when you're in this constant comparative state. And I think that the youth face that a lot. But I also see them wanting, they do want more. They don't want to live like that anymore. And so that's where we come in, and we embrace them and we show them love. And even if they're not ready for carnivore, then we help them at least understand that like navigating away from the SAD diet and into a more meat-based ketovore, even keto diet is going to be a lot more conducive to relieving themselves of that stress and that guilt and shame and anxiety and depression that I think so many young folks are dealing with right now.
Yeah, and also many of them, right, they're being told, or at least believe themselves, that it's my fault, or I'm just gonna have to live with this. This is just
everybody
how I was
feels
born.
like that. Right?
Yeah, right.
Like,
everyone feels like that, and people just don't know, right? Many people believe they're doing the right thing, just like you did, when being told that, oh, having this energy drink and the protein powder, right? Even the ones trying the hardest to like do the right things and getting healthy and all that, are hearing the wrong things, right? Eating the things, drinking the things that are inflaming them and actually holding them back. And also they're getting the advice from doctors and stuff, right? They go to their doctor and hear the completely wrong advice. Or I mean, they wouldn't like the advice we're giving either, but we believe that what they're saying is like doing the opposite of helping people, right? And speaking of doctors, you have a pretty funny story with a doctor, right? You're a doctor.
I do, yeah. I've got an amazing doctor. I won't shut him out just in case. He's also he's a teaching doctor. He teaches at 2 major universities here in Canada. But he's a really cool guy. He's been my doctor since I was a teenager. He's a small town guy. I was a small town girl. Like, he has been with me through puberty, through my 20s, through the loss of my dad, through becoming an adult. Like, his niece is married to my best friend. Like, we've grown together in our lives. And he was the first one to put me on that high fiber antibiotic diet when I had the diverticulitis. And then later, when I got into the carnivore world, we started having open conversations about that. And he started self-admitting, like, yeah, we don't talk about nutrition in school. And he's like, you probably know more about nutrition than I do. And so we started talking about it. And we tease him and I because we have a lot of similarities with our health as well. And so I always say I'm like their long lost daughter. And so I said, you know, you should just give this a try. Give it a try. And he did. And when I came back to see him, he's like, yeah, I've stayed like heavily meat-based, like / carnivore. And he's like, I feel great. He's lost all this weight. He looks fantastic. And it's just such a cool thing to see a doctor be willing to say, like, yeah, you know what? I don't know. Like, let's have a conversation about that. And because he's a very progressive, like, always open to learning, he loves educating others. And so he went meat-based. And we've together worked. I mean, I'm a push the envelope person, but just basically so that everybody who tells me, like, oh, you're going to die, understands I have worked alongside my doctor to get off thyroid medication, to track my carnivore journey. And my thyroid balanced very quickly. I was reliant on medication for years. And like within a month and a half, like, my thyroid levels were completely stable. Same with hypoglycemia. So we've been testing the hypoglycemia. We've been testing the thyroid. Everything's been perfect. And one of the cuter stories, I went, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, and I had blood work done. And I went into the clinic, and his wife works the front desk. And so he's reading me my blood work, and my LDL is high. And his wife goes, Jenny, you're going to die. You need to fix your LDL. And he's like, shut up. Shut up. He's like, Jenny's fine. She has no precursors for heart disease. High LDL doesn't mean she's going to die. Shut up. You're not the doctor. And it was like this hilarious, completely, my doctor does not abuse his wife. He's a hilarious guy, but like, hilarious situation where he was literally so unconcerned about my high LDL that he literally was like, yeah, your brain requires that, Jenny. You're fine. Like, don't worry about it. And I was not worried about it. But it's just like, it's great to have somebody on your side who is in the medical field, who has taken the opportunity to step back and not just dig in and say, well, this is what I was taught 35 years ago in school. We recognize awareness is always changing. And I said to somebody recently, like, anecdotal evidence is evidence. That's how hypotheses are derived. When you're sitting under a tree and an apple falls on your head, that's anecdotal evidence of, oh, hold on a second. Something might exist I didn't previously consider. Same thing as food and nutrition, right? Just because you've been taught something doesn't make it true. And just because there are research studies that back something, generally which are funded by a big farm, it doesn't make it true. And I love that I have a doctor who's so willing to be like, maybe worst case scenario, I'll prove you wrong. And he did give this a try, and now he's been on a meat-based diet for like a year. So I think he's sticking with it too.
Yeah,
And
it's just
great.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to hear that there are actually doctors out there that are willing to question what they were taught in school, because there aren't that many, but it's so encouraging when you actually hear it once in a while. And this is such a great example of it.
Yeah.
And but you probably have gotten some pushback too, right?
Oh yeah. From like society? Yeah, I get pushback.
Yeah, from people around you in your life, or just society in general, you sharing this stuff on social media.
I get pushback. I'll be fair. I actually don't. I'm a pretty like lead with light and love person. having been a bartender, I could probably be one of the meanest people that you've ever dealt with like zero emotion towards what anybody says to me. But it's not the way I want to lead my life. Like, I believe truly, carnivore has made me a healthier, happier, more positive person. And I only want to share that with others. So if somebody says something that's misinformed, I will do my best to educate them. And I'm in the same coaching program that you are. So it's, I want to have that actual piece of paper that says, look, here, I'm actually educated in this. Like, I've done my research. And I will educate, but then I don't fight, right? So if somebody comes back and they're like, you're this, you're that, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to go on living my life, eating the way that I feel is best for me. And I entirely respect you for eating what you want. Like, nothing but light and love. Have a great day. You're not going to hear from me again. Bye. And I would definitely recommend that in the social media space. It can be very aggressive there. And block and delete. Block and delete's your best friend. Like, you don't need people who are keyboard warriors, right? In my personal life, I've actually been pretty fortunate. But for me, like I said, I'm a bit of a force to be reckoned with. So I think most people in my life are really used to me being obscure. Like, I'm the super tattooed one out of everybody. I quit my corporate job to just randomly start working for myself. I decided that I hated where I lived. And so in like 4 weeks, I just quit my job, started my own business, like moved to another city and like started a new life. So people in my life are very used to me. And if you're somebody I consider in my inner circle, you are not somebody who's going to get to judge me for anything, because like, see you later. Bye. Right. Some people have pushed back. Aunts and uncles have tried to do like Google research and send it to my mom about how I'm going to die and whatever. But that's been pretty fine. I'd say the one kind of annoying thing is when my friends try to explain it to other people and they aren't comfortable, or maybe I haven't educated them enough to just say like, I don't know why we're talking about my diet in general. Like, I don't know why that matters. Like, we're not talking about, oh, so-and-so eats like French fries. Like, I don't know why it matters what I eat socially, but it does. And I will be annoyed often because people will say like, oh, Jenny has to eat that way because she was unwell. And that really irritates me. I think most people in society are unwell. If you are struggling with your weight, or you have pain in your body every day, or you are facing autoimmune disease or acne or depression or anxiety, or like any of these things that we're normalizing, you're as unwell as I was. You're just not acknowledging it. So yeah, did being unwell bring me to carnivore? Yeah. But I think I was only aware of how unwell I was because I took the time to step back and be like, why am I bloated? This doesn't feel right. And then I went into testing to figure it out. Or like, why did I gain 30 pounds in 45 pounds in 3 months? Maybe my thyroid might be out of whack. Like, I spent the time to try and part and parcel what was happening to me. So yeah, it does irritate me when people say that, but they don't push back on it. Everyone in my life's been really supportive of it. My business partner bought me a steak for my birthday last year. Like, showed up at my house and was like, happy birthday, here's a steak. So, it's cool like that. I am really lucky that my family has been super supportive. My mother and father-in-law are Hispanic, and like, food is their love language. So I thought it would be a challenge with them. They don't understand, but they've been very supportive. And so like, will they constantly try to give me cake? Yes. But they don't cry if I don't eat the cake. They're fine with the fact that I don't. So yeah, I'd say online has been by far the worst, but like, I'm not afraid of a person hiding behind a keyboard. That's completely fine. I'm here to shed health and awareness to people. And if somebody doesn't like what I'm talking about, then that's fine. That's completely their prerogative.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I totally agree that that's just the best way of handling it, really. There's no point in wasting your time on that. You can spend that time helping someone else heal instead, right? There's something better you can do. And I've definitely experienced the same thing myself with people in my life, that they seem to actually care more about me having to restrict my diet than I do myself. And
I know.
they go out telling other people all the time, like, oh, he has to eat this way because he was sick and all that. And it does annoy me as well.
And you're
To
just
be
like,
honest.
okay, yeah.
Okay,
You know,
it's
why
just
are
my
we
life.
talking about how I live?
Yeah, yeah. It's just I don't think about it that much, right? It's just how I live.
Yeah, me
And
too.
speaking of how you live, are there other things you've started doing in addition to the diet part with this whole lifestyle?
Yeah, I think when you, like I said earlier, like when you start to balance things out and you start to alleviate like the heaviness that I don't think often people are realizing they live day to day with. But when you start to actually wake up and like your first thoughts aren't doom and gloom, or you start to wake up and you don't go hit the snooze button for the 56th time, like you can actually wake up, then you start to experience other things. You want more of it. It becomes like addictive to want to live like optimally. And so I mean, I've always been a really regimented person, but I mean, I try to get 10,000 steps before I start work for the day. So I go outside, I get my sunshine, even if it's pouring rain or if it's like I live in Canada, so it's like gets super cold and snowy, but I still just go, I go out no matter what, I go out. Um, and so that for me is like fresh air, go look at things. I don't touch my cell phone for the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. I wear blue light blocking glasses when I'm on the computer all day long. I'm cautious about water that I'm consuming. I don't drink tap water. Obviously, I'm very cautious about my diet. I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of self-educating. Obviously, well, not obviously, but I'm super into fitness. Fitness is like key for me. So I've got like that whole thing. I journal every day, and I do a lot of like, I would say I don't love the word manifestation, but manifestation journaling, where like now I speak things into existence, and I work a lot on like releasing my old life and all of like those bad vibes that were attached to me before. So yeah, I mean, I'm living relatively holistically. I do red light therapy every day. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's like when you start to feel good, feeling good itself becomes this like addictive thing and you want more of it. And so it's like, what else can I do to feel better? And then you find you're like only around other people who are thinking about like healing and like kindness and being well and healthy. And so you start to like really like escalate in your energy. I sound so woo woo right now, but I don't mean it like that. It's
Keep
just like
going. I love it.
peace and love, and it's like your woo woo ness. But it's like I find you just end up like around all of these amazing people. You start doing all of these amazing things, and for some people, certain things stick. Like fitness becomes your thing, or like going outside and grounding becomes your thing. Like for certain people, different things connect, but I think like as you start to become ancestrally aligned, you start to live ancestrally and you start to go back and want to go back to the way that you as a biological creature are meant to exist biologically. Like all the other animals that enjoy the world, right? That like my dog doesn't sit and watch TV all day. Why not? Because he's a dog. He sleeps, he does dog stuff. Why am I sitting and watching TV all day? That's not what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I just find that like, yeah, the more you do, the more you want to do, and then like the better and better and better you feel. And then it's really cool. And then you want to tell everybody on the face of the planet about it.
Yeah, and then you say, like you talked about, you start setting up everything in your environment to be like the best it can, right? Thinking
Yeah.
about like the ancestral thing, right? You would obviously only team up with people who bring something positive to your
Yeah.
tribe. You
Yeah.
wouldn't keep the people who are ruining it. Uh, so yeah, it all makes sense, and I've noticed so much of that myself as well. Uh, and just I want to hear, as we're getting close to the end of this and looking at the time, if there's one thing like you could tell your old self from like your entire healing journey, one thing you could tell your old self, like a lection or whatever you've had along the way, what would that be?
It gets better. It gets better. And you don't have to feel like this. And you're trying you're just trying the wrong things. But like, don't give up, right? Don't give up. There is like that little spark of something that you feel in you that it doesn't have to be like this. Listen to it because it's true. That's your intuition. That's your soul telling you, there's more, there's a better life. And I think if I was going to speak to, like, would I do it all over again? Maybe, because it made me who I am. It brought me here. It gave me all these experiences to speak firsthand to people who are going through that life. I'd probably tell myself to chill on the alcohol a little bit, but I think, like, it gets better and you're going to make it. You're going to make it out the other side of this. And I think that that's something a lot of us need to hear, is just like, hang on one more day, keep trying. It's going to be okay. You just take the time to breathe, listen to your body, and follow what your body is telling you, because everything else doesn't matter. Your soul knows. That's it.
It's very
That's
beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank
my poetic moment of the day.
Yeah, it really was. It touched me. It did. And I think also, right, just go listen to all these stories out there, because I mean, you might be in a state where you don't even believe that you can get through it yourself, but you
I
don't
didn't believe it.
Yeah, right. But in that moment where you are at your worst, right, you don't even have to believe you can do it yourself. Just go look. You can see Jenny and I, we did it. So
Just find somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Find somebody to talk to who you relate to, and maybe that's me, maybe that's you, whoever it is. Like, I have people reach out to me every day and they're like, hey, you talked about diverticulitis, I'm struggling, can you help? Like, even if you don't believe in yourself, just know, like, someone else in this community is willing to embrace you and hold your hand through the scariest times of this journey. You're not alone. Someone else has been through it. Someone else has healed themselves. Jonathan and I, perfect examples. Even if you have no faith, you're laden with guilt and shame and defeat, just know someone else is extending a hand and they will help you through this journey. And even if you don't believe in yourself, you absolutely can.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, it's been amazing talking to you. I always love chatting with you, Jennifer. And
Me too.
thank you so much for coming on and telling your story and having this chat. Is there anything else you want to close with? Where can people get in contact with you? Can they work with you? All that?
They can work with me. You can send me a DM on Instagram at Lady of the Steak, and I'm open there for carnivore and life coaching, and probably any and all other aspects of trauma or psychology that somebody else would need assistance with. And Instagram's the place to be. So that's my generation, because I'm old. And you can find me there, and I'm happy to talk to anybody about anything, anytime.
That's amazing. Okay. Thank you. And I'll speak to you soon, and hope everyone enjoyed this chat, and see you in the next one, right?
Thanks, John.
Oh, and